Good evening, everybody. It's Monday, April 3rd, 2023, and this is a regular meeting of the Moscow City Council. Tonight, we have a special pledge announcer. Would you, sir?
Thank you.
Please rise and...
Please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
There you go.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Chair.
Okay, that represents a delightful segue to our next order of business, which is a proclamation honoring the Purple Heart City Proclamation. So, whereas the city of Moscow and the state of Idaho has great admiration and gratitude for the men and women who have selflessly served their country in this community in the armed forces, and whereas the Purple Heart was the first American Service Award or declaration made available to the common soldier and is specifically awarded to members of the United States Armed Forces who have been wounded or paid the ultimate sacrifice in combat with a declared enemy of the United States of America. And whereas the mission of the Military Order of the Purple Heart is to foster an environment of goodwill among the combat wounded veteran members and their families, promote patriotism, support legislative initiatives, and most importantly, make sure we never forget. And whereas the city of Moscow appreciates the sacrifices of our Purple Heart recipients made in defending our freedoms and pledges support for those combat wounded veterans who currently reside in Moscow, and for those who put their lives at risk in service to their country and their fellow citizens. And whereas the city of Moscow and the state of Idaho has great admiration and gratitude for the men and women who have selflessly served their country and this community in the armed forces, now therefore I, Arthur Butke, Mayor of the City of Moscow, do hereby proclaim the City of Moscow as a Purple Heart City and encourage the citizens of Moscow to show their appreciation for the sacrifices Purple Heart recipients have made in defending our freedoms, acknowledge their courage, and show them the honor and support they have earned. So with that.
Thank you, Mayor. And we have a sign acknowledging the city as a Purple Heart City, and then a parking sign reserved for combat wounded veterans.
Here, let's step around the side.
Take the bubble wrap off.
Here, I'll get the bubble wrap. So
All
I
right, I'll
can not
trade you.
pop it during the
Right, right.
Put it away.
Proclamation, perfect.
Yeah, really.
Give it to Sandra, give it to Sandra. There we go.
Oh, no.
Come on up to
Okay.
There you go.
Oh, that's.
Hold on,
That's the one we read.
Was it upside down? There we go.
The other one's just a parking sign.
So,
1, 2, 3.
Thank you. I just have a few words to say.
yes, please. Jump right on.
My name is Len Crosby. I am a former Army Ranger and a captain in the 101st Airborne Division. And with me is Major Dale Wilson. He's a former major. We were both wounded in Vietnam. And as the mayor said, the Purple Heart is America's oldest military decoration. It was the first award available. Essentially, it was designed and instituted by General Washington during the Revolutionary War. Initially, it was a purple cloth badge in the shape of a heart affixed to the uniform coat, and the award was initially known as the Badge of Military Merit. It was awarded for, and I quote, outstanding valor, unusual gallantry in battle. In that sense, the Purple Heart is the precursor of today's Medal of Honor. In 1932, following World War I, General Douglas MacArthur redesigned the Purple Heart as a medal to be awarded to members of the military who were wounded or killed in combat against the enemy of our country. Since then, more than 1.8 million American citizens men and women have been awarded Purple Hearts. And more than 3,800 Idahoans who served or are serving in our armed forces have been awarded Purple Hearts. It's the military decoration nobody really wants to get because you got to shed your blood or give your life for your country to be awarded that medal. I think Dale's received one. I've received two. We greatly appreciate the action the city of Moscow has taken today and their agreement to keep this symbol of those sacrifices visible in their city. This is just another action in a long and consistent record of this community's support for our veterans and their families. So thank you very much.
Welcome.
Thank you. I feel like we want to clap, and that seems really inappropriate because it means you got wounded. So I don't know if that's right or not, but I want you to have that urge to clap. Thank you.
Second one, my sergeant looked at me and says, "You just didn't learn to duck the first time."
Okay, moving along, we have another proclamation and some more whereases. And this is the Fair Housing Month proclamation. Good, Siri's talking to me now. Whereas April 2023 marks the 55th anniversary of the passage of Title VIII of the Civil Rights Act of 1968, commonly known as the Federal Fair Housing Act. And whereas discrimination on the basis of race, color, religion, gender, or national origin in the sale, rental, leasing, or financing of housing, or land to be used for construction of housing, or in the provision of brokerage services is prohibited by Title VIII of the 1968 Civil Rights Act, the Federal Fair Housing Law, and the Fair Housing Amendments Act of 1988 expands coverage to include disabled persons and families with children. And whereas the Idaho Human Rights Commission Act has prohibited discrimination in housing since 1969, and whereas the city has determined that discrimination on the basis of sexual orientation and or gender identity or expression shall be prohibited pursuant to Moscow City Code Title 10, Chapter 19, in order to help ensure that all persons are afforded equal opportunities in housing, and whereas equal opportunity for all, regardless of race, color, religion, sex, disability, familial status, national origin, or sexual orientation and or gender identity or expression is a fundamental goal of our city. And whereas equal access to housing is an important component of this goal, as fundamental as the right to equal education and employment, and whereas housing is a critical component of family and community health and stability, and whereas housing choice impacts our children's access to education, our ability to seek and retain employment options, the cultural benefits we enjoy, the extent of our exposure to crime and drugs, and quality of health care we receive in emergencies. And whereas the laws of this nation and our state seek to ensure such equality and choice for all transactions involving housing, and whereas ongoing education, outreach, and monitoring are key to raising awareness of fair housing principles, practices, rights, and responsibilities, and whereas the mission of the city's Fair and Affordable Housing Commission includes researching, analyzing, and recommending to the mayor and council ways in which the city may further fair housing practices, and whereas among the duties of the Fair and Affordable Housing Commission are to review the city code analysis and impediments to fair housing and action plan each year, and to recommend changes as it may deem necessary. And whereas only through continued cooperation, commitment, and support of all Idahoans can barriers to fair housing be removed. Now, therefore, I, Arthur Butke, Mayor of the City of Moscow, do hereby proclaim April 2023 to be Fair Housing Month in the City of Moscow, and I urge all citizens to support programs and policies that prevent or eliminate discriminatory housing practices. Do I have anybody here from the Fair and Affordable Housing Commission?
They're all
Come on
here.
up.
Okay, I hope so.
All of you. Everybody.
Well, I mean, they're giving their update today, so I love it.
Thanks for the bubble unwrapping.
Of course.
I put it away so.
I know, the
tempted.
temptation was there.
It really was.
Just a few.
She's the chair.
You're the exiting chair.
It's delightful.
All right, 1, 2, 3. 1, 2.
Yeah. Of course.
Okay, for those who were counting, that was 18 whereases. So, all right. Next up is the consent agenda, and this item consists of items that are either routine or non-controversial and have been vetted by either the Public Works and Finance Committee or the Administrative Committee. And any item on there can be removed for separate consideration by a member of the council if they so desire.
Your Honor, I move we approve the consent agenda.
Second.
They have moved and seconded. Okay, Gina,
Aye.
Drew,
Aye.
Maureen,
Aye.
Julia,
Aye.
Sandra,
Aye.
and Haley.
Aye.
Okay, that devours a huge chunk of the agenda.
Now we're done.
Next up, staff recognition. Do we have anybody?
Not this evening, Your Honor.
Okay. Mayor's appointment, I have one this evening. The appointment is for Ducati Schiff for the college representative for the Human Rights Commission expiring 12/31/2023.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, ma'am.
I move that we approve the mayor's appointment to the Human Rights Commission.
Second.
Okay, moved and seconded. Okay, Maureen,
Aye.
Drew,
Aye.
Gina,
Aye.
Haley,
Aye.
Sandra,
Aye.
and Julia.
Aye.
Ducati, are you out there someplace? Would you like to just pop up and say a few short words?
They could be long words in a short time.
Ooh, I like it.
Even better. Supercalifragilistic kind of words. I love it.
Welcome.
Hello. My name is Ducati Schiff. I'm originally from Wisconsin, but have been in Idaho in and out kind of for 14 years now. And I'm currently studying at the University of Idaho. I'm pre-law, currently studying philosophy and communication. I take my LSAT in June, and I'm very much looking forward to that. So I'm interested in being the college rep on the commission because I have extensive background in human rights advocacy at a local, state, and international level. I've spent 7 years starting in high school as a freshman to now as a junior in college advocating for rights, as it is a cause that always needs more advocacy. Through my involvement in organizations such as Amnesty International, which allowed me to advocate across the globe for different native land tribes and others facing the loss of their rights, as well as the Idaho Foster Youth Advisory Board during the time that I spent in foster care. I spent my time in the board passing the siblings bill, which now allows that any siblings entering foster care can no longer be separated upon entry of the foster care system. With that, I've also spent 2 dedicated years serving on the Congress of Future Medical Leaders and advocating for more education in high schools regarding the medical fields that are available to them at the age that they can join once they enter college. Now taking part in Amnesty International organization on our very own campus and still advocating for human rights. With all this experience and applying it to the local, state, and international levels, I want to be able to take a more active role here in Moscow on and off the campus and within the community. Thank you, guys.
Excellent. Thank you.
And thank you.
Thank you.
Welcome, welcome. Okay, next up is public comment, and this is for the next 15 minutes and 3-minute increments. If you have anything on your mind that you want to come talk to the city council and/or mayor about, pop on up, as long as it's not on tonight's agenda nor pending before Planning and Zoning Commission or the Zoning Board of Adjustment. So if anybody wants to speak, the mic is yours. Just announce your name and address, and you've got 3 minutes. Yeah, an avalanche of humanity headed for the microphone. Okay, moving on then. Next up is the Citizens Commission report for the Fair and Affordable Housing Commission. Amy Henrik, and then Casey Holcomb-Hooks.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Let's see, let's get this up here. Yeah, it's a pleasure to be here tonight. Thank you for having us. As you saw, many members of the commission are here tonight. I'm here to introduce our current chair, Casey Holcomb Hawks. She's been with the commission since 2017. Many of those years served as vice chair, and this year chose to step up and relieve Randy's time as chair. And it's been a pleasure getting to know Casey over the years. And so with that, I'll turn it over to her.
I don't think that's theirs.
Oh, what's the other one?
Thanks. Same color, just wrong one.
Oh.
There we go.
Oh, wait.
Why did it do it again? Okay, stay on the right one. There we go. Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Good evening, council, glowing audience. My name is Casey Holcomb Hawks. Like Amy said, I've been on the commission for quite a while. I will try to fill Randy's footsteps in doing our presentation for you tonight and review the role of the Fair and Affordable Housing Commission as it pertains to the city, some of the things that we can do, some of the things that we can't do, and a lot of the activities that we've done over the past couple of years. Do I have a next slide, please? No. Next slide, please. This thing? Boop. Okay, there we go. All right. Okay, so the duties of the, they're gonna come one at a time. Okay. All right, so we recommend various ways in which the city can further fair housing practices and affordable housing practices. Of course, affordable housing is always a hot topic and has been for quite a few years, but we don't want to let the fair part of fair and affordable housing go to the side, so we spend time focused on both. And then look at ways that we can help inform the community about responsibilities and rights under federal housing law, any related amendments, and then applicable state or local laws, being able to provide resources to landlords or to tenants in the city, and point them in the direction of resources that they, oh, I went too far. Go back, it's okay. Direct them towards resources that they can get from the city. We do review, at least on an annual basis, and I believe we've done this every year that I've been here, the city code analysis and impediments to fair housing and the action plan. And then we make recommendations to the mayor and to council for any amendments or changes that might be needed in that. It's an interesting kind of report to go through because there are some things that we know are out of control of what the city can do. So we know that as a commission, but we still get to talk about them, some of those issues, and review that plan to see if there's anything that we need to change or do as laws are changing or other cities are modeling things that might make a difference or help us stay on top of changing priorities. We also review our city's efforts to promote affordable housing and make recommendations to promote those practices. Some of the things that I can recall are some changes in, I'll probably say the wrong word, but like zoning laws for smaller dwellings on lots. So like can add like a mother-in-law suite, things like that, that can help in theory drive down the prices, but we also try to educate people on what the city is limited in its ability to do. So we can't say, well, yeah, you can build this suite, but you can only rent it for $500. We can't do that. So you could very well build the suite and then rent it for $2,000 if you wanted to. But some things are not in our control. I got your back, guys.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Sure, yeah. And then consulting on fair housing planning objectives, communications, and then anything that's in that fair housing action plan that we can do to help with. So we can table at farmers market. I think I'm going too far ahead. But as a commission, we try to look at anything that we can do to help the city share the fair housing action plans and let people know that we're here as a resource for them. Next slide, please. Okay, we make recommendations to the mayor and the council of any changes in our fair and affordable housing ordinance. We put all the whereases in there for you.
Thank
We enjoy that. Yeah. And then again, if there's any federal, state, or other assistance in formulating or carrying out any programs that we're not in compliance with, which we are, but we would make a recommendation to accept those federal guidelines. or state or local. Okay, we're like a really small gang now. For a while, there was only like 4 of us. So we have a big group tonight. So that's me at the top. I'm here. Randy is our vice chair. So he's still here if I ever flake. Randy will be here to do it. Linda and Joellen is here tonight in the front row. And Ellen is here next to Randy. And A is back, I think, yep, A is back there. And Ashley and Brandon are new. So we're rolling deep now in the commission, which is awesome. Okay, some of the activities we did. So I talked a little bit about them. So we have the Fair Housing Month proclamation. We have a sample survey to gauge, this is very carefully worded, community perception of fair housing issues. So we spend a lot of time trying to figure out what are the right questions to ask to get some sort of read on if there is a perception of fair housing issues in Moscow. Of course, we're limited to who actually answers the survey and do the questions we ask actually point to fair housing issues? We usually will spend some time consulting with NILS and the Housing Trust to see if there's anything that we can add to the survey around the affordable piece. And then we send them out and hope that people send them back. And I think we got a fairly decent response, didn't we, this year? Yeah, how many came back?
I think the response rate was like 30.
Yeah, 30% out of 200. So that was good. Yep. Mm-hmm. The annual fair housing training. So last year it was on Zoom. So we partner with Idaho Fair Housing, Intermountain Fair Housing Council to put that on. And I believe it's tomorrow morning. Kind of short notice on that one. Yeah, but they'll be here tomorrow morning doing the training at the 1912 Center. And that also helps landlords stay in compliance with training that they need to do every year. So if you're not busy tomorrow morning, swing by the 1912 Center. Okay. We do the farmers market table every year. And again, these kind of outreaches let people know that we're here. And they also give us an opportunity to provide some of those materials that we have on rights, renters' rights and responsibilities, landlords' rights and responsibilities. We get a lot of conversation about affordable housing. We answer it to the best that we can. And then try to try to remind them of what, as a commission, we can do and what, as a city, we can do when it comes to affordable housing. And then we had a booth at the Latah County Wellness Fair this year. And I think since it started, we've had a booth there. And we usually partner with some of the nonprofits that are tied to housing in our area. So we share our booth, again, with the Affordable Housing Trust and also Intermountain Fair Housing Council. So they come up, and that's a great resource for us when we have someone approaching us for some complaint or grief with some sort of housing, and to have them right next to us is really helpful to give tenants those resources that they need. And like I mentioned before, we do give out the brochures on tenants' rights and responsibilities, and we have the link to those flyers as well on our resource page. We give a lot of those out at the booth. And then, of course, partnership with U of I Legal Aid Clinic and IFHC, which is Intermountain Fair Housing Council. Great resource across Idaho, even though they're down south. They've been a great partner for us to work with, whether that's virtually or if they need to come up. I believe they're consulting on some of our mobile home concerns as well. And upcoming for us, of course, tomorrow morning, fair housing event, training at the 1912. There's a lot of lines. 9 to 12, 1912. Yeah, free and open to the public. You can register online with Eventbrite. We will be at the farmers market table in June. Hopefully it will not be snowing. And we will continue to look at ways to promote fair and affordable housing and make recommendations to the WISE Council as appropriate. And I believe that's all.
Nice.
I will field any questions. I don't know that I can answer them, but I will field them now.
Anybody?
Julia does.
Oh,
Hi.
hi.
So Casey, I just am wondering what Fair and Affordable Housing Commission thinks are some of the bigger issues right now.
That's a lot. There's a lot of issues. We have reviewed, of course, there's a lot of discussion around rising rent rates and housing, the same topics that you would be having with any affordable housing. But a lot of our discussion has touched on the new phenomenon of writing the letter when you want to buy a house, and how that is fair and equitable if someone were to receive a letter from someone who was in a protected class and then perhaps decide that they did not want to sell their house to that person in that protected class. So we've had a lot of interesting discussions around what that looks like, what the city could or couldn't do, or, if that's on a bigger issue that would affect realtors and mortgage reps, all that kind of stuff. We talk a lot about the efforts that the Housing Trust is doing, sort of plug that one since I'm on that board, and the partnership on the U of I house, which was really a great story for the city and a great story for the Housing Trust. And I think they broke ground on number 2, or will be breaking ground on number 2. So we talk about that. And we have some new commission members that I believe will bring to light some other topics. One of them is in construction. And so a lot of times we discuss, but then have to bring it back to what can we actually put forth as a recommendation, or how can we further educate the city that this is what we can do. We had a great presentation 2 meetings ago, I think, just around some of the city code to help educate us as commission members. So I kind of really, as the chair, try to live in that box of what can we do and what else can we do to educate people to what you can do, as opposed to housing prices are out of control. What are you going to do about it, city? Yeah, sure. Any other questions?
I have 2, Mr. Mayor. I know we've got limitations to what action we as a municipality are able to take about regulating Airbnbs, but this is backstory to get to a question, I promise. But I am really fascinated with understanding, as a college town, like the restriction is in place for places for like resort towns that see a lot of really high vacancy when they're not in their tourist season, which turns into year-round stuff. But I'm still really interested in the impact that Airbnb inventories or short-term rentals is having on the big picture. And so I know there's limitations to what action we can take as a city, but I'm really interested in if that's something that the commission's been discussing or would be interested in learning more about, because I imagine that asking for something like a report on that, or us trying to seek that information from our community members would be okay, but because it's not code action. But I'm curious if you've talked about short-term rentals and the impact on inventory and affordable housing.
Yeah, it's a good question. I can't say that we've had a meeting where it was on the agenda, but I think it is worth discussing. I don't know that any of us could answer off the top of our head how many short-term rentals we have in the city.
And I think it's because there's limitations to what we can. Yeah, we can't create like a registration process for it. And I'm not looking for a source of revenue. I'm mostly just genuinely interested in what the impact is. And with that, since it is an Idaho state law that's triggering that limitation, are there any bills that have passed this legislative session that has the commission has discussed that is concerning to you from a housing perspective? No.
I'll defer to to our expert.
Oh, I was going to say.
But if you're going to say it, you got to.
Yeah, Aya's got to come to the mic.
You have to come up here.
It's a long trek.
I don't even know what status is still in.
But I know Aya, in her role supporting the Moscow Chamber of Commerce with your government affairs.
Yeah, I know there was legislation this session about accessory dwelling units and whether or not homeowners associations could
regulate it or
regulate it or not. And I don't even remember the bill number. I mean, not like I would know that off the top of my head, but that's something that was on the table in the legislature this session. If homeowners association had the power to regulate accessory dwelling units, and I think the bill was saying that they did not. But
interesting.
Yeah.
Nothing as spicy as Airbnb sweeping municipality limitations though this year. I'm trying to remember too. I've been pretty out of touch this session, but
I don't remember anything on short-term rentals. I'm sure there is, but couldn't tell you off the top of my head.
still
I have to pull up notes.
no gold stars all the way across. I promise I wasn't trying for hard questions. Just if anything was rising to the top. So
No, I mean, I think that's a really huge issue in the Treasure Valley. And I think that's something that we can discuss, but we don't have like data on it or anything.
no worries.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Thanks, Aya.
Bring it. Grab your notes. Okay.
Any other questions? Maureen?
I will say that I've also heard businesses talk about the need for some kind of regulations potentially with respect to Airbnbs. And so it really would be a good topic for you to look at.
Definitely, especially when you're challenged with inventory already, and then you
Yes.
can hold.
And,
Yeah.
and the issue isn't, rent out the place for a couple nights and you can equal a month's rent.
Right.
And so then they use that instead of the other, and they can make a lot more money on Airbnb than a rental.
For sure. Yeah. Thank you guys for your questions.
Thank you.
Anything else? Oh,
Good. Thanks for the report.
And we appreciated the
See you next
humor.
year. Okay, next up, 1912 Center Annual Report, David Schott and Jenny Kostroff.
Oh, I'm going to do that.
A slideshow.
Mayor Betke, members of council, thank you for having us this evening. It's my pleasure to welcome back Jenny Kostroff, Executive Director of Heart of the Arts. She's going to be presenting the 1912 Center Annual Report. And so with that, I'll turn it over to Jenny.
Okay,
Welcome, Jenny.
let's do this. I won't be too enthusiastic, I promise.
Oh, ooey.
Lies, such lies. Okay, so it's been more than a year since you last saw me. No, it hasn't. I've been here before. We named some rooms, but now I'm back with a full report. So we got up to some stuff in 2022, a few little things. And so I'm just giving you the highlight reel tonight because there's so much going on at the building, I can't even make a PowerPoint. So here we go. So let's see. First off, let's start for the people at home that don't know who Heart of the Arts Inc. is. Heart of the Arts Inc. is the company that was chosen by the city in 2006 to run the 1912 Center for our community. Woohoo! And we have currently a board of 9 to 10. So in your paper report, it says 9. But in my written thing on the wall there, it says 10 because we think we have another board member joining us. It's very exciting. So see, this is how we lure him in. Please finish your application. Okay. And myself, the executive director, and I'm now in my 16th year of running this place. And we have 12 staff members now. That sounds like such a huge number, but it's just because we now have more to run. And so we have more high school students for the most part running that. They're taking care of the building right now. There's a punk rock show happening up there. So they've got that under control. They're going to keep the windows from exploding. It's excellent. And we have our in-house janitorial as well counted in our 12. And we have a current contract with the city that renews in September of 2031. It sounds so far away, but honestly, it'll sneak up on us real fast. But I just wanted you to keep in mind where we're at. So this year was the year of finishing the second floor. That's right. It's done, people. Woohoo! We have added, for your pleasure, the book room. This is our lovely book room, and it has this incredibly large bookshelf. Now, the book room is important for everyone to know about. All of you can hang out in the book room for free. That's right. You heard it. Free. No charge. Just come hang out. You can do your homework. We have a wonderful woman who does alterations, and she meets people there so that they can go into one of our fine restroom facilities that we built on the second floor and change into their item to get it hemmed. And she meets them there because then she doesn't have to meet them at her house and they don't have to meet her at her house. So it's a whole thing where everyone feels very safe and well taken care of, and it's in a nice environment. But the big picture here is the book room is available to the community because we have a cool partnership. Our partnership is with Moscow Friends of the Library, and they bring all these cool books to the shelf. So if you have books at home you'd like to donate, you take those to the library and you take it to the side door and you say, ding dong, I have these lovely books to donate. And they say, thank you so much. Then they sort them. Then they bring them to the 1912 Center and they put some in storage for their larger sales. So these are all used books that you can adopt for your own choice of price. It's amazing. We have a donation box there. You can stick money in. Half the money comes to the 1912 Center to continue our renovations and care of the facility, and the other half goes to all the wonderful programs that Friends of the Library does. So it's an ongoing used book sale. It always has new stuff coming, so you want to check that out. So that's the book room that you see there. And we also finished the Barr Family Historic Classroom, recently named the Barr Family Historic Classroom. And that is the home of our pen and primer project. Here are some cute kids. These kids attended, this is Catherine Bonzo's class, actually, fourth graders from the Moscow Charter School. But we had a number of different schools come and experience the pen and primer project. And I didn't know it was called primer, so it's important. It's not primer. It's not what you put underneath paint. It is primer. And a primer is this lovely item that we have created. And I will pass this along for our council to view. If any of you at home would like to see a copy of our fine 1913 primer, just stop on by the 1912 Center. I'll share one with you. The kids get this primer as a part of their day to take home with them at the end of the day. And it has all kinds of cool stuff. So I'll start it here with so you can take a peek. All of the items in the primer create an entire classroom curriculum for the day. The students get to work with chalk and nib pens, and they get to learn what you would have learned in 1913 as a fourth grader. So it's super cool. Here are some more pictures of them working with their nib pens. They wear the sailor collar to remind them that they are a student in 1913. So they get to experience all of the good stuff that goes with that. So some marching drills. Most kids have never experienced marching. That's something they would have done in 1913. We tell them they're learning calisthenics, and all of them go, what's calisthenics? And we're like, okay, what do you think is, what do you do at recess? They're like, well, we call it PE. I'm like, right, you do PE. Physical education, they all know that one, but they don't know calisthenics. So the collars help them be reminded that they're in 1913. It was a very popular style of the time. In honor of the Navy, they wore their sailor collars. As both women and men would wear them as students, and so it was very perfect for a little quick costume for the kids to wear to remind them that they too are in 1913. And then the teachers, these lovely fourth grade teachers, get a day where they don't have to come up with what to teach the kids because we're taking care of it for them. Our teachers stay in character and they teach them arithmetic, writing. They do a little play of the Star Spangled Banner. They do, they work with a poem. They work with Roman numerals. A lot of kids haven't even experienced what a Roman numeral is. That always shocks us too. And so they do some reciting of a poem. I'm trying to think what other fun things they do. The nib pens, they get to write their names into their primers to take home with the nib pen. And one kid said, if I was a kid back in 1913, my fingers would always be covered in black ink. He had a very hard time with the pen, but it was adorable. So we had a really good time. So the program is available. So at home, and everybody, tell all your fourth grade teacher friends. They could be homeschool students. They can be students from private schools or public schools. We will sign them up for a Tuesday or a Thursday in the fall to come and be in the classroom and experience this program. It's a really neat time, and the kids get to have a lunch break and go back to school. And then at the end of the day, they get Oreo cookies. Don't tell them, but they get Oreo cookies because Oreos were invented in 1912. Very exciting. That's the end of the day. They all go, ooh, an Oreo cookie. I'm like, yep, right. And one kid said, these aren't from 1912, are they? We were like, no, they're new. Let's see, a few things that we did around the building in terms of repairs and maintenance to add to our second floor. So we have the picture I chose isn't necessarily the best one for the actual visual of the bar, but the the lighting is up, if you can see it here at the top along here. So this back bar was from what's now Worcester's Pizza downtown, and it was moved into the 1912 Center in January of 2022, or actually it was December of 2021. We moved that bar into the facility and worked around it. And so now it's all installed, but we added the LED lighting in the top so it lights up the wall. It's a really beautiful addition to the the Chin Lu newly named Green Dragon Game Room. So that's really fun to have that finally back the way it used to be. We also got a wonderful grant from the Avista Foundation to help do the retrofitting of the great room lighting. So it is now no longer fluorescent lighting that's dying, because it was slowly getting less and less dimmable and more dark in that room. And so now we have LED programmable lighting that can do all the things that the fluorescents can do, only better, because it really works. And so all of those have been retrofitted and they're doing a great job. Grop Electric did the work for us in that space. So that turned out nice. That was in November. And then we started a new program for the community. This program is sponsored in part by the Latah County Arts Commission, I think they're called. I want to get the name correct, but I don't have it in front of me, which is really dumb of me. I knew I was coming down here, but everyone kept bothering me today. So our new program is called 1912 Center Makes. It is also a free program. This program is for anybody in the community, because we think y'all need to get a little more creative in your lives, and having all the materials ready for you, and you just walk in and do something, and you don't have to know anything about it beforehand, and you can learn a new skill and or just have a fun evening and not have to clean up your house or craft room to be able to do it. We provide all the supplies, and so we did some weaving in September. We did gel printing in October. We did wreath making in November. This is a couple of the ladies making wreaths in that class. And December, we made paper stars. It's always the third Monday of the month. So coming up on the 17th, the same time, this coming 17th, we also have Artability, and I'm going to give them a little plug. Artability will be in the great room, so you can come see art, you can make art. It's going to be a really fun time. We're doing a collage workshop on the 17th, so that kind of blends in, that people can see some art and then make some art. So that'll be a fun evening. No matter what, you don't even have to know what the subject matter is, but this next month it's collage work, but you can just come and make art with us. So 1912 Center Makes, and it won't always be just standard art forms. We might get into building birdhouses. We might get into needle felting. You don't know what we're going to do. It gets wild in there, but it's always something that's well coordinated and a lot of fun. We also just finished our 18th winter market season. It's been 18 years of doing the winter market, so that's been a lot of fun. This year we added the arts workshop as a regular space for the market. So, and in the coming year, we've made a new partnership with the U of I Extension to do something for kids every single market that we will have located in the arts workshop. So a free activity for children, so that there's always something for the kids, because sometimes the kids are like, shopping. And you're like, okay, how about I park you at this cool paint a piggy bank station, and you can do that, and I'm going to walk around. I'll be back, kid. And so that's going to be a lot of fun to have that every single we're at least doing 4 of them the first market of each month. And then we'll have an alternate activity, the second market, for November and December this coming year. But we did our first partnership with them at the March market, and it was really well received by everybody. So we're excited to add that. We also always give pop-up tours to see the third floor. So when you come to a winter market, this past season, we opened the third floor door and had a station to come up so that people can see what's coming. It's important that you remember we're not fully renovated there, even though all our windows look pretty from the outside. The top floor still has 10,000 square feet to renovate, and I'm still fundraising for it. So I need you all to come see it, so you know what we're asking for when we ask for money. So that's coming. And we did our standard programming this last year with lots of art shows in the hallway gallery, and we also had plaza concerts last summer. So we've been busy. And then the second floor has been a lot of fun to run. My new record for the building is 19 different events in the same day from different groups. Just so you know, I can do it. So with that, I open myself up to questions.
Thank you for being able to do 19 programs in one day.
It was
and
really,
for
I was
running-
like, wait, you guys, I think this is a record. Like, we just went, we turned this room 3 times, this room 2 times, this room 3 times, this room 2 times. We were like, what? What is going on? It was wild, but very well received. And in fact, it is an old school building. Remember, they had every single room running at the same time. So except for parking, that is very doable in terms of the space. But for us, we were like, what is happening? And it worked. And we were kind of blown away by that.
I just also wanted to add that it's amazing how much work you've been able to accomplish over the years that you've been there. And, you know, it was a dream in the beginning and it's really being actualized. And now we're on the 3rd floor. So thank you so much for all that you've done to really make that. And it's your enthusiasm and your drive and your desire to make it happen makes it happen.
Yeah. Well, I love the place. That's for sure.
That's clear.
It's a passion.
I'm wondering, with the arts stuff that I avoid, is there a big difference in people that come month to month, or is it same old group, or is it a good gelling of the two?
It's truly a real random. I mean, like you'd think if it's every single month, some one person. I think the only person that's been to almost all of my 1912 Center makes is Denise sitting over there. She gets like points for being the #1 maker. But we have way different groupings every month, and it's really cool because like in January we had 47 people come to do the neurographica art that we did, and it's on our Instagram if you want to watch that one. We did a reel of that 1912 Center makes, and it was crazy cool because you have a quiet room where 47 people are drawing on watercolor paper with a Sharpie, and it is like, woo, it's kind of meditative. You're like, this is really cool. And then after they're done with that, they fill in all the sharp parts and round them out and then paint them with watercolor. And everyone came away saying, I can't believe I made this. Like, and yet it's so simple, and yet it was very relaxing and everyone had a really good time. So like that was 47 people. The next month we had 7 people come to make paper boats. And then the next month we had 17 people come to do a second round of weaving. Our first 1912 Center Makes had 4 people come to it. I said, okay, we have to start small. We build from here. And it's really true because like our wreath making, I think we had like 20 some people come to that. And it's, like I said, different people every time. So exactly what you were asking. And so honestly, it's serving different people. And the reason I think January was even more popular was it felt like we pre-advertised what the thing was, and it felt doable to people. So they were like, I could do this. But I think people need to not get in their own way in terms of trying something they've never tried before. And like the gel printing one was a great example of people were like, whoa, this is so fun. I didn't know this would be so fun. And they're just like getting wild. And I remember Molly Pancook was freaking out about how fun it was. And I was like, we need you at all of these, because she was like, this is so great. But it was really kind of like we all sort of were wowed, because when you can do something you didn't know it would work that way, and you take like magazine pictures and squish them onto paint on a gel pad and pull it off, and then you put paper on it and it lifts the entire magazine photo, and you're like, this is wild. Like, how is it doing that? So it was very fun. We had a good time. So everybody should come check it out. And then the other thing that we started again, just to throw in there, is the welcome table is back again. The welcome table is a free dinner that we are doing one time a month, and it is a time for you to meet new members of your community and experience a dinner with a chef that is sort of our celebrity guest chef for the Monday. It's always the 4th Monday of the month, and that is by reservation. You can call us to get the phone number because I don't have it handy. But make a reservation and bring your party, and then you'll sit with different people in the community. And we were thinking we'd challenge the city council. I don't know if is the 4th Monday one of your nighttime Mondays? Ha ha. So if the council wanted to serve people.
Can we wash
at the-
dishes?
You can wash dishes if that's your preference, Sandra.
washing dishes.
I love that someone loves the dish
I'm
pit.
over it.
It's always good. We also got a new dishwasher this year too. So,
I know,
you know.
it's amazing. I have to say I've used it twice and it's the bomb.
Well, it keeps it at 140 degrees in that water. So it's always cooking. It's very exciting.
Are you planning to bring back the music at the plaza event this
Yeah, so
summer?
that one, we're actually going to talk about it at our board meeting this next month because we have started to notice that the Plaza concerts were very purposeful. So when they were first started by Linda Paul, the goal was to look up at the unfinished, ugly windows of the building to say, look, we have all this to do. And what's happened over the years is A, our summers are getting hotter and we need air conditioning, or it rains and we need dry. So we've been pulling them inside the great room, which doesn't make it a plaza concert. So that's kind of disappointing. But on the other side of it is that around town, a lot of smaller groups have started adding music to what they do. And we feel like it might not be time for that anymore and that we need to morph into something else. So at this time, I'm not sure. We're going to talk, I'm going to, Denise, let's bring this up on our agenda. But we are going to talk about it. The Plaza concerts might have run this course and maybe they will come back in another iteration. We have talked about doing concerts that work on our LeCompte Auditorium stage so that people get to experience that space and or do readings in that space or something to help let people know, hey, this is another space you could consider for use. And also, we need to get lighting in the LeCompte Auditorium. So one of my wild and crazy ideas, so watch for it, is that we will have a stage reading in the dark, so that afterwards we can say, now, do you want to see that performance next time? Please donate generously to the lighting fund for the LeCompte Auditorium. So, but that's the kind of thing that might be better suited to currently what we need. But we'll talk about it. I love the Plaza concerts. I mean, I always have, but like I said, things have changed. And like a good example, there was a group that was calling themselves Heart of the Arts. I think it was Robin Lopez was doing wonderful little pop-up concerts in front of the Kenworthy and Casa Lopez last year during the summer. And I was like, come on now, that's the spirit. So I felt like maybe that's where the little outdoor concert things need to go for a while. And with Rendezvous in the Park being a really nice source of outdoor music, as well as all of the Thursday night concerts, it might be that Plaza concerts for now get a hiatus. So we'll see. We'll see where we go with that. But you'll know about them if they're going to happen.
Okay, good stuff.
Yeah.
Thank you, Jenny.
Thank you so much.
See you next year.
I hope so.
Okay. Good stuff. Okay, item 7, Moscow Volunteer Fire Department Annual Report. Chief Brian Nickerson.
Evening, Mayor.
Good evening.
Council, how are you?
Great.
Indeed. Indeed.
Indeed.
Indeed, I do.
Indeed.
Indeed, we do. So, as always, we had some great things happen. We had some challenges, like we do every year. So, we'll go over it pretty quick. But if you have any questions, you can stop and during it or at the end if you like.
What year was that picture taken? You know?
I don't know.
I wasn't trying to be a quiz. It's a cool picture, that's all.
I didn't realize the first question would be a quiz. Oh, look. No, I'm not sure when it was taken, though, actually. I wasn't in it.
Well, sure.
Okay, I can tell you that.
It's old.
So last year, 2022, it was our second busiest year in history for the organization. We did 2,776 calls. Of those, as it is in the past, over the years, roughly between 72, 76% is always EMS calls, motor vehicle accidents. Included in this, excuse me, is also the rule that we respond to. So we respond to EMS calls outside the city, as well as we provide the command officers for those, as well as we share the records management system currently today. So that's why our numbers are probably going to be, when we do switch systems, it's probably going to go down probably about 100 calls, maybe give or take, only because we do share the system. So eventually we'll end up, oh, yes.
Will you go back one,
Sure.
please?
Yeah, I don't know. How do you
Wow,
do
you're
that?
just pushing buttons now, aren't you?
I'm just
What's
pushing
a
buttons.
good
Here you go. Here- oh,
intent?
I'm sorry. Oh, yeah, well,
Hey, what year was that?
somebody drive this thing. I don't know. What was it somebody said a while ago? Next.
Exactly, next
Which
one.
one?
What's a good intent call?
I'm going to tell you that here in a second.
Okay,
It's on the
tell
next
us that.
slide.
All
If
right.
I would have stayed. If I would have stayed. All right. So the examples of, if you go back, and you're absolutely right, Gina. Some of these are kind of confusing. It says service call, good intent, special instance. What does that mean? So I created this slide after the first presentation I did 7 years ago because of those questions, because you need to understand a little bit of what it means. And I don't remember all of them off my head because we do have a ton of opportunities to select certain things on various calls. So it does get a little confusing. So good intent calls, for example, is we are dispatched somewhere, we get canceled, we go back, go back to quarters or whatever. There is somebody that's burning that is authorized to burn, like during this time of year, someone have a phone call, oh my gosh, I see smoke in the neighbors. It turns out that somebody's burning. So they're authorized. If you'll see right above that, the service call is unauthorized burning. So if they're burning outside of the burn season, then we would check that box. So that's kind of where some of this goes. So, okay. Just a breakdown of all the incidents. We had 54 what's considered fires. It's a various cooking fires, not really buildings burning down or houses or anything like that. But there's a lot of things in there. Wildland fires are in there. Those types of things. The caveat here is, though, we average, you'll see down at the very bottom, overlapping incidents. So we have more than one call going at one time. So 36% of the time last year, 1,012 calls, we had at least 2 calls going, sometimes 3, 4, and 5. So it kind of depends. It just starts at 1 overlapping, and then the rest just kind of are added in there. They don't add up, if you will, during that time. So we're very busy. The false calls, we went up a little bit this past year, up to 264 as false alarms, 256 the year before. We had 20 broken water pipes in 20 different places in town just over Christmas break. And basically most all those in one weekend, from like Friday, I think, through Monday. So it was challenging because you jump from call to call to call to call. And we kind of, once we start seeing 1 or 2, we know we're going to get multiple ones just because of things are thawing out a little bit, and we're going to see some more. We've also seen an increase as well as we've had more installation of fire alarm systems within the community as well. So, which is a good thing. Yeah. So we haven't issued any tickets. We haven't issued any tickets since I've been here. It's more about the education people.
When would you issue a ticket?
If we go there enough, and basically it's warranted in the fact of it's negligent.
Okay.
For example, 4 or 5 times, but yet you keep vaping in the same room. Maybe you're burning the same pizza. Or something like, so there's a lot of things that, and typically I'm not about writing a ticket. I think it's education more so than anything. And once you explain to them and they kind of learn, it's amazing. It really is. It's they get it. And most of the time they don't mean to do it. It's just, but the system is working and functioning properly. They're just not functioning properly to make whatever it is they're making or something like that. So, which is, happens.
They made me stop cooking.
Oh no, we should bring us cookies.
We still have an open investigation that's back from 2018 about the three trailers that burned out at West Blue River Drive. And then you've seen that we had a fire recently on Bitterroot Street. That remains under investigation. We're finishing some interviews this week, hopefully. The last press release I sent out basically was that it did start on the outside of the building. So we're still looking at some opportunities and some things that may have occurred or may not. So we'll see where we end up here in the near future.
I have a question. At what point do you close and invest? Like if are you still processing new information for the 2018 or investigation, or like at what point do you close the books? Does it depend?
It really depends.
Great. I'll
Because
take that too.
people will say something or something will come up in somewhere else along the path. Maybe the PD will find out some other information somewhere, somehow. We don't really close it because, and we can always reopen it. But we consider it open just because of the fact that we have not located the exact what happened.
Got it.
So, and we know those fires were set. So, again, the one on Bitterroot, we don't know exactly yet, but we'll hopefully find out some other information here in the next couple of weeks, hopefully. So, and again, our partnership with the PD is second to none. In all the places that I've been in 34 years I've been doing this, we have such a great partnership with the PD and everybody. So, which is good. Incidents by month, you'll see that the green on the right is basically from last year. And then the center one is the year before, which again was the record year. So we're still trending up in that 20%, still above where we were about 6 years in a row. So the busiest month, July, August, September, and then days of the week being busy on the right. For trending and planning purposes, this information, sometimes it doesn't tell you a whole lot. It tells you a lot that only in the sense of it's kind of static. You don't see this big jump on a certain day specifically or a month, if you will, in reference to, hey, all the students are back, so now we're that much more busy. No, we're not. We're just as busy in the summer. It's just it's more of a static thing than it is really jogs up and down. So, which is interesting for a college town. I expected when I got here, it's like we're going to see this big thing in September, October, November, and then we're going to go down a little bit, and then we're going to be back up in January, February. It doesn't work that way. And then it goes down in the summer. It doesn't. The interesting part here, the time of the day when we're busy, you would think evenings, weekends, or evenings and overnight, which actually it's not. The busiest time is basically from about 9 a.m. to about 9 p.m. Can't answer why, but that's just kind of one of those trends. Now, if we were to plan something of some resources or whatever, that would be one that, hey, we're a little bit busier during these 12-hour periods. So that could be something to look at. So the 8-year call volume, again, the trends. Again, the first, 6 years or so, we stayed around 2,400 calls a year. 2021, we jumped up all the way to 28, 22, and then fell off just a little bit in last year. So this is all run January through December 31st. Comparatively to the previous year, the types of calls, we went from 76 fires to 54. EMS calls, our rescue and emergency medical service calls, we went down a little bit. Our percentage stayed up. And then we made up some fire alarms and so forth. So we had 295 inspections last year, 220 the year before. Had 196 of them that we wrote a notice for or have issued just to, hey, you need to correct these. 46 passed with no comments, and then 53 passed with comments. And those are like, get your light bulb fixed and your exit sign or whatever, something simple where we don't have to go back and take a lot of time up. So
I have a question. For like commercial situation, I guess I'm trying to understand what the frequency is of you having to go out for inspections. So I'm guessing like any new build, any new construction, things like that. But for like maintenance, what is?
You're supposed to do them annually.
Okay.
You should do all businesses annually, but we don't. We don't have time. We don't have the amount of the capacity to do it.
And it's a should, not a must.
You should be doing them. We get ISO credits for these. So it does impact us in that way. Mm-hmm. We've done a lot better over the last 5 years since we've actually hired a full-time person, which has significantly helped because it also helps on our pre-plan side of pre-planning a building before we do have an event or anything like that. But in the next slide, I'll show you what inspections we do. Because we do, I'll get there in a second. So the fraternities and sororities we do twice a year. We do them when they come in, basically August, September, and then we do them again after the first of the year. It's a high life hazard just because of the environment. And I can tell you that 99% of them is so open to understanding what, I mean, they're going to have their parties, they're going to have those things, and it's college. But most all of them will do what they're asked and fix and repair or add to, or hey, what else can we do? We hold classes over there for them as well, fire extinguisher training or something like that if they want it. So we do a lot of outreach with them, and it's really been a great relationship with all of them. Restaurants, we do also the alcohol inspections as well with Lori each year for the alcohol inspections. So we do go look at like apartment buildings, but only from the outside. And that's to make sure they have their fire extinguishers up, make sure their fire alarm's working or inspected. Sprinkler system is tagged as well for annual, make sure it's tested annually. So events that we do, again, this is all volunteers doing 95% of these, 98% of these. So we do event standbys, football games, stuff like that, basketball, career fairs, fire prevention outreach, public relations, team escorts. We do concerts, fairs, whatever. We were just at the health fair the other day but that was the admin staff doing a lot of that one just because it's during the day, during the week. But a lot of these other opportunities are evenings or Saturdays and stuff like that. So some highlights, spotlights, whatever. The new Engine 20, it was anticipated to be here in May or June. Right now we're looking at August or September of 23. So I'm crossing my fingers. I haven't got any word that the metal moved off the floor yet to actually build it, but I'm hopeful that soon it'll be going that way. So we'll see. We're kind of at their mercy. Recruitment and retention of community volunteers and residents are of a high priority. We've been talking about that for several years, about trying to get more community members. We're always taking applications. We have at least one academy every year, if not two. So we have a lot of opportunities for folks to volunteer and stuff. And that's what's going to keep us sustainable if we can get more. So we have had, like I mentioned earlier, some challenges. We've had some paramedic covered challenges with the amount of people we have. We've had some people leave for jobs, which is not uncommon here. Good for them, bad for us. I'm proud of those that do go and they're doing good things. That's what they want to do. Just leaves us kind of in a spot. So with the limited EMS staff that we have now for volunteers, we're going to actually post a waiver with Idaho EMS to possibly say, hey, this 12-hour period we might not be able to cover for a paramedic. So it's a big deal. We don't take it very lightly, but also, and you'll see a slide here in a minute, the admin staff has been picking up a lot of slack as well. So response challenges during breaks and daytime hours, that's been a known thing for a long time, just by the makeup of our system. But the challenges are real, but we need to figure out some opportunities of how we can address some of those things. And one thing about the EMS, on the EMS side, we're working on a scope of work for an EMS study, not only possibly for us, but we had a meeting with the EMS council in the county, and they might take the opportunity to participate with us to say, hey, where can we make some improvements or partner somehow, some way, in some way, shape, or form. So to get a really good look at what's going on and how we can, really figure out some things going forward and be sustainable. After that, consideration for fire station locations and the staffing study for that as well. So we got a lot going on. This is an interesting statistic I found. I searched for the other day, which was published by the National Volunteer Fire Council. So basically, before 2017, there was 814,850 volunteers across the country. And then in 2017, it was down to 682,000. So almost 200,000 people back in 2000 to 2017. And that was the lowest point it's ever been since 1983. It's not unique And it's not unique here to Moscow. It's not unique to Idaho. It's not unique across the country. It's happening everywhere. There's different ways to look at that. But we provide a lot of opportunities for people. We're so high on turnover. And I'll show you that. No, it's right there. An average volunteer here in Moscow is 18 to 24 months. That's it. The amount of hours that we put in is 160 hours just in the fire academy and 120 hours in the EMT class. So take all those hours and then onboard them and all those things, and they're only going to be here for 18 to 24 months on average. Now, we have some longer ones, we have some shorter ones, but a lot of them will come here and they want to go do this for a living. And we are the training grounds for others. We're maintaining about 20% increase. We're a little bit lower this year so far on calls based on from last year this time, but we've noticed over the last probably 2 weeks it's increased. The other day we ran, I think, 12 or 14 calls in one day. So again, we can get busy. About 12% of the EMS volunteers are residents. So we have 7, 8, 9, depends. Again, that's what they want to do. So it does help us while they're here, but it doesn't when the breaks are happening or anything like that. 47% of our EMS volunteers are regular students. So what does that mean? Well, that means that they're going to be in the WWAMI program. They're going to be they're regular volunteers, but they come and go just like the student residents that we have. So take that for our whole organization. That's kind of, we're transient in nature. 51% of the paramedic shifts last year to cover 24/7. The 2 career staff covered 51% of those. So, I mean, that's a big number. So therein lies part of the waiver, if you will, to try to provide some relief for the volunteer paramedics as well as the career staff as well. So again, there's challenges. Currently, we have 4 active volunteer paramedics, with one of those in training currently, and we have 1 application we just received, and I think he just got approved on Friday when I already had this done, but to come on. And then we also have 1 in class at INHS up in Spokane. Again, we anticipate that, but that's an 18-month, 24-month return, and he's been in there since September. So he's got another at least year and a half before we'll see anything from him. So people are always interested in our volunteer data, like how many we have, what are we doing? So this dates all the way back to 2011. I did this when I got here in 14. We started doing it and then carried it on. So you kind of see an average there between about 110 ish on between 2011 2016. And then it's a little smaller, but just last year we started this year with 95. So it's not our lowest year, but it's close. So we average roughly, depends on when you do the math, right around 100 volunteers every year. Again, up and down, summertime, break time, all those. So that does include 24 residents or 22 residents that we have and all that. So, yes.
That means 100 volunteers to take care of 25,000 people, plus whenever you do county runs.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah. We run about 130 paramedic calls outside the city. That goes to, I should say, even outside the rural fire district, which goes to Potlatch, Troy, Genesee, Deary, Elk River. We've been as north as Benoit almost.
And that's
so
130 a month, a year?
No, a year. I'm sorry, a year. Yeah,
Thank
but it still takes them away from what we do. But but we do work with the county and stuff like that, our partners and stuff, which is great.
Yeah.
So, but we are the only one. So we are the only one in the county that provides that. So. Training wise, again, we had a spring and a fall academy, fire academy. We had an EMT class in the spring, EMT class in the fall. And I'm not so sure we're going to do a fire class in the spring yet for next year. We're debating. What's the value of it, of how many people are going to keep, how many we're going to be on onboarding, all those things. It's kind of a lot to measure before we make the decision. Multi-company stuff is basically 2 or 3 stations getting together, doing training. Live fire training is tonight, tomorrow, Wednesday, Thursday. If you're bored, if you would like to come and sit in a nice hot box, I'd be glad to put you in there with me. It'd be fun. It's a good evening. Yeah, you're more than welcome to come. Anybody's more than welcome to come. We'll get you in there. Yes, Mayor, you are going to get in there with me. So live fire training this week. We do this every academy towards the end. It's required. I have to sign off on them that says that they're capable to do the job before they go to the state test. And then they won't be state tested on that just by my signature to say that they have done it. They've completed it to the abilities that we expect. So, and we are probably a little bit harder on them than a state evaluator coming in. So, but it's a dangerous business. So a couple things. April 13th, we're going to start discussion on the new ladder truck, which is a pretty big proposition. We're a little ways away, but it's a big truck.
Can you remind me, like, is it 20, how long are they good for? Because the engine 20 is replacing
Engine 20.
Okay.
So they're
stay the same.
NFPA. No, they're not the same. This is the ladder truck, which is the big ladder on top. It's got a 107-foot ladder.
Yeah.
It's tandem axle. It's pretty big. So the engines are. That's the engine.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, this is different. This truck's a tandem axle, big ladder on top. Is that next one after that engine after.
And it's to replace one we already have, or it's wish list. Okay.
Nope.
And so they're good for like 20 years?
20 years.
Okay.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Is it because 20 years of wear and tear, or is it 20 years of just like specs and things change?
A lot of things change in NFPA, which is the gospel, if you will, for the fire service. It says that 20 years is basically life expectancy of it. Now, ours is in really, really, really good shape. But there's some technology and everything that we're missing out on, and we can, maybe see about moving it down the road. So, but keeping on a replacement schedule is the biggest thing. So we keep up with it. That's the biggest thing. You don't want to get so far behind, like we kind of started to with the engine, that we started getting a little bit behind. So, to maintain that. And that's the good thing is now we have a replacement plan that goes out to long after I retire, out to 2045, 50, I don't know, something like that. So everything is planned. So, which is good, with increases and all that. So, which is a good thing. But we're going to have that. We're going to go on a trip to Appleton, Wisconsin, where it's built in probably June or July. 5 of us is going to go meet with engineers and stuff and sit down and, we're going to do a preliminary thing. We're going to build it, and then we're going to go see it probably from an engineer's perspective, and then see other things that they have. Work through all that until next year. So, and then hopefully order it by the end of next year, possibly, or something like that. So it's a long process. May 3rd, we're doing graduation for the Fire Academy for the spring, the EMT class this spring, and then also life-saving awards. We'll be doing that at Station 3. May 15th, our 2 summer hires will start. On July 30th, the new student residents will start. They'll report to Station 3 at noon. It's a Sunday. And then they'll do 3 weeks of very intense training, driving, policies, procedures, guidelines, all those types of things. And then September 8th, this is the 75th year of the student resident program. So we're doing a kind of a get together little banquet just for the residents at the Best Western. So we're inviting back all of the folks that were in the program previously, and the word has traveled fast. Holy cow. I ran into a guy, his daughter was over at the U of I Bound event when I was over there for a little bit, and he actually came from the program. He works at Nampa Fire, and he had already heard about it. It's like, and we didn't really publish it yet. So I'm like, holy cow. So, which is good. But they did it, the last time they did like a little get together is for the 60th anniversary. So this is a bigger one. So other than that, that's all I got. Any other questions?
Gina.
I had one, but it was mostly clarification. I didn't want to stop you because you got on a roll.
Oh, sure.
So when you were talking about the incident numbers and you said 36% of the time there are multiple calls at once, these are multiple calls. You mean multiple incidents,
Yes.
not just 5 calls about
The same thing.
the same
Yeah.
thing. We're
Same
talking,
Different calls.
Yes.
wow.
Right. So if we're at an accident, for example, or whatever, and now there's a medical call at Good Sam.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, then there's another medical call at Aspen Park. So that's 3 at once. So that's 3 calls.
Yeah.
But we only track it 1 to 2 because that's what the system does. So we don't track anything. I can go manually and look at how many calls, like 3 at a time, 4 at a time, whatever. But it doesn't print the report that way as far as how many times did you have 2, how many times did you have 3 or anything.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's multiple on top of each other. So it takes double the resources to do those things.
Or triple or.
Or,
Yep.
yep,
Yep, I
depending on the
understand
incident.
Mr. Mayor, I've got 2. The alcohol inspections, is that normal? Is that a normal role for your code crew to be doing? Is that like in Idaho kind of, that's normal
No, it's
delegation
normal.
of?
Yeah, it's normal. We do fire and life safety inspections.
Okay.
So, and that's really what it's for.
Groovy, big and
for our
broad.
side.
Okay. And this may be more of a Bill question. I'm still getting my arms around the laundry list of facility improvements, and bonds are on the mind right now we've got a lot of folks who have been expressing interest in needing facility upgrades, new facilities, period. And so I'm sure it's a long ways off to be, but I'd love to know on the horizon, are we talking about a new fire station? And this would be fire station number 4, or would this be replacing an existing facility? Do we know yet? We don't know yet.
So the short answer is we don't know yet.
Love it.
Obviously, we're having growth that's happening in the southwest quadrant of town as well as in the northeast. And so we are getting stretched a little bit farther. The chief wants to commission a study to assess response times as these future developments grow. There's also a potential desire to increase bed capacity for the student resident program because we are limited to how many participants in that program based on our sleeping capacity between the 3 stations. So we've looked at some potential plans to renovate Station 2 and add additional sleeping capacity there. But we'll look at kind of those future growth, what we think is going to be forecast to happen over the next 10 years. How will that impact our response times? In the future, will we be looking at a station? Where should that station be sited to best serve the community? So it'll really just be kind of a forecast assessment of response times in response to this development over time. So we can have our eyes on that and anticipate and plan for any expansion that may be necessary.
And for historic context, for Station 3 is our newest one, right?
Yep.
And I can't even, I don't remember how many years it took and what the bond was for. And it's not going to be a really helpful point of comparison for numbers, but do you remember off top of mind, like what we bonded for that station?
Just over 3 million.
Yeah, Station 3 was just around 3 million, if I recall
Yeah,
correctly.
It's a smaller
That was
facility, right?
18 years ago, I think, roughly.
It was early 2000s.
And
So
$3 million. And do you remember how long it took for us to pay it off?
10 years, I think.
10-year bond?
Yep,
Okay. Thank you.
I believe so.
Okay.
If you want to take a tour, just let me know. Just come up. I'll give you a tour of all the stations. That way you can at least see it, see what we do. So
Will we have enough students applying that we could actually have 7 or 10 new students at a new building?
we took on 11 this time. We had 19 applications. We average around 19 to 25 applications every year. This is since I've been here, this is our second highest amount bringing them in. 4 years ago, we brought in 12. And all of those are either graduating, they've already left, they've got jobs. 2 of them just got hired in Spokane. They just left early. So it's right around the 19, 20, 25 applications. Me personally, I'd rather see 30, 35, even for eight positions. I mean, competition's good. And I can tell you the quality of what the candidates are, they're top notch. So
Hard to choose.
it is. I mean, we have 24 beds, and actually we were trying to keep 1 bed, our space open at Station 3, basically eliminate basically 24 down to 22 to allow the regular volunteers to, hey, come on up and ride and stay or whatever. But the transition anymore is just too high for even the resident program. And I really would not like to go down to having four shifts rather than 5, if at all possible. It just puts a burden on everybody. So we're going to go ahead and increase it to 24 this year. We do still have a room down at Station 1. We call the paramedic room, which is where some of the paramedics have stayed if they live out of town and come in and stuff. So we still have space to provide that opportunity, but we'll kind of see where we go. So
Could you remind me, those that are not student residents, how many volunteers do we have?
well, it'd be about who are not student residents. You're sitting about 74, 75,
Okay.
roughly. Yeah.
And when you did put up there the thing about summer hires, are those, who are they usually?
Anybody in the organization can apply. It's 14 weeks. Typically, it comes down to the residents,
Right. Okay.
because they end up staying. A lot of them will go work wildland. They'll go to wherever, Theory even, IDL or whatever, or they'll go home and work jobs with their parents or grandparents or whatever. So
But you usually fill that with students from the
Usually,
residency
yeah.
program. Okay.
yeah. Usually it's 2 residents. So, yeah. But I mean, you think about all the stuff that we do and all that. That's mostly all volunteers doing it. Now, granted, it's probably a smaller group. It's like everywhere else. It's a smaller percentage doing a lot of it, but it's still getting done.
Good.
And it's a challenge every day, but it's also rewarding too. So
I have one more, Mr. Mayor.
I didn't mean to talk you into a question.
Yeah. I hope it's an easy one. Student turnover aside, like what's your average tenure for volunteers? I mean, Debbie's obviously the unicorn. I would guess Debbie's probably one of your most.
Some of them are still
tenured
18 to 24 months.
Yeah.
I mean, the regular volunteers is still 18 to 24 months.
And
So, yeah.
and so is it like a big gap between like the townies who have been here for a long time doing the volunteer stuff and then.
Yeah, because that number's dwindling.
Yeah.
Right. And then we have more people being transient. So I've told people before, we're too good for our own good at times because we offer all these opportunities.
Yeah.
And it kind of hurts us in the end,
Yeah.
but also it's rewarding mostly because of the fact that they can go be successful somewhere else. So, but yeah, basically the average length is still setting probably less than 5 years. So we don't have the longer term people, and that's what we want. But to find some of those folks, and in today's world, it's much harder to do it with two adults working or families and kids, and all the other life stuff that happens. It's a challenge, and it's not like it used to be. It's just not. So, and we're running calls and we're that busy. So.
Okay, anybody else?
Thank you.
Thank you,
Just
Chief.
You bet.
See you tomorrow.
Yes, you will, Mayor. You will. Absolutely.
Good stuff. On to reports. So, Gina.
Wow. Okay. I went to the Historic Preservation Commission, and I want to wish Nels Reese a speedy recovery. He's having some surgery and some fun going on right now, aside from all the work he did. And he wrote us a really long email while he was recuperating. So that wasn't surprising. There is we're working on Orchid Awards, but there is a tour of Reidenball Hall coming up that's going to be dang fun. So I'll keep you guys in the loop on that. David Schott, most organized liaison of the staff of the city of Moscow ever, has us organized well enough that we're starting to talk about our citizen survey questions and the kind of things that historic preservation wants to learn from our citizens. Also went to planning and zoning, and there's a lot going on. And again, they are reading and doing outside work as a commission on top of their commission duties. And I'm just like stupidly impressed with them. There are some public hearings coming. We talked about buffer yards. You guys remember we talked about that at the last council meeting? There's more coming. It's kind of a cool thing. Tomorrow, Yeah, it's the tree commission. It's tree commission day. So I'm excited about that. I'll have more to tell you at our next council meeting.
We can hardly wait.
Oh, I also got to meet with the most awesome salesman. Tim Thompson is a Rotary member and is their incoming president in July. So he's way ahead of the game. But boy, did he's just made it really interesting. I had so many questions by the end of it. And we had like maybe 45 minutes. Really an interesting new energy, I think, for Rotary. And so if you guys have a chance to meet with him, even citizens, if you stumble into him into the street or something, see what he has to say. It was very interesting. I enjoyed it.
Try not to stumble into him, though. That might be painful, right?
Stumble. Yeah, maybe not stumble.
Corner Club.
Come across.
There you go.
Maureen.
Okay, so let's see. On March 21st, I went to the SEC meeting and we reviewed the Mayor's Earth Day Awards and have a long list of suggestions with respect to that. And we'll see what the mayor does on it. And then it will come before council with those. And I'm sure you'll accept them because they're great. At least many of them. Okay. And then the UI Etymology Club was asked to partner with the Solidarity Bee Workshop. And the bottom line is that they're trying to get people to plant seeds that, in fact, grow wildflowers. And so you'll see them at the farmer's market and you can pick up a free packet and make sure that you plant them so that we can have the bees happy and buzzing around. In addition to that, I also went to the, on March 22nd, I went to the mobile home park meeting that was at the U of I, looking at the 4 mobile home parks, and the Idaho Fair Housing Council was there to talk to people about what their rights were and address some of their questions. And that was very interesting, I think. I'm glad that they're on it. I'm glad they're looking at it. So that's where we are in that situation. And most of my other meetings are coming up this week. I have the URA and I have Farmers Market.
Sandra, you're on.
Okay. So PBAC met there. The big news is they're looking for new executive directors. So if you're so inclined to apply for that, that'd be great. Go to the University of Idaho site. And if you know someone that might be great, send them our way because we'd like to start some interviews. I'm happy to report that we had a 1912 development meeting, and I have nothing to say because happily Jenny was here and the 1912 is developing. So many developments along the way. Thank you, Jenny, for taking my thunder away. Good stuff there. Love the 1912 Center. Had a chance to go to Washington, D.C. with Mayor Bedke and Councilor Julia Parker. And first, I have to say a thank you to Julia because she got me out of middle seats all the way to Washington, D.C. And that was a big deal. So thank you for watching out for me. I appreciate that to no end.
Nobody wants the middle seat.
No. And I'm not going to take everything away because I know that other counterparts have things to say. I'll say the couple of the things I focused on while there. Really met with a lot of folks and talked a lot of education, whether it was town and gown events or we talked a lot about student loans. And I think Julie will probably expound on this a little bit too, but we talked with folks both as our representatives and those in the National League of Cities to see if there was some way that we could start almost like a fund and help for any kind of small town that has some sort of tragedy happen, whether it's what happened to us in November, something outside of the natural disaster realm where we could get some help, whether it's in monetary form or people form, because we were really fortunate that the Idaho State Police were able to come here and help us out a lot. But had something else been going on, that might not have been the case. So really started to put some feelers out about that and talk to a lot of folks. And hopefully down the line, we can start making some moves that way. Talked a lot about airport stuff. I know that's near and dear to Art's heart, so I'm not going to steal the thunder on that one, but had a lot of good talk about our airport and how to make it better and how to hopefully to work together with our towns and with our federal government and making better things happen. And then, gosh, end of the year stuff coming up, which is crazy. More town and gown events coming up, which is fun. Hard always because everyone has their own little calendars and own little things that they need to try and get done in a short amount of time. But luckily, a small town and a good college, and we can help make those things together. And I think that's it. Also have some things coming up this week, which is spectacular. So I'll send it on down the line.
Off to Julia.
Okay, I went to the Idaho Fair Housing Council meeting on March 22nd, and there was a lot of good information there. And I think that is going to prove to be a really valuable resource to people who are being given probably unfair leases that need to be reviewed. So it's become, it was a long meeting, but I think the resources will be really helpful for people. So that was good. And then also went to National League of Cities in Washington, D.C., which was a great experience. Just lots of really useful information on everything from policing to grants. They talked a lot about cities writing grants and how they're trying to streamline that. It's apparently there's 155 different portals to submit your grants for a small city. So National League of Cities is working hard to try to streamline that. But they also always had resources for us about different grants that I brought back. But the main thing I did was talk to anybody I could about crisis management and how small cities need help from their national organizations like National League of Cities to deal with crisis management, because it's not like we have those resources. And thankfully, we don't need them. But when things happen, whether it's a national disaster, a natural disaster, sorry, there might be a national disaster too, but natural disasters or an act of violence or whatever that brings in the national media, we just really need resources to help us. So I put that bug in a lot of people's ears and have had some success in getting some resources. So that was really the main thing I wanted to do there. And I think we got that ball rolling.
Yeah.
So,
Haley.
I also attended the Boat Home Forum at the law school and was able to catch the beginning of it. And I think 2 are technically outside city limits. Is that right? So it's been an interesting kind of navigating that. But I think I hope those folks feel supported and seen, and we'll do what we can I would like to see what we can do from the city side to advocate for them. And attended the State of Public Safety event put on by the Moscow Chamber. I don't remember what day of the week it was, but it was really special to have Sheriff Skiles there, as well as Chief Fry. Sheriff Skiles also expressed we're approaching end of life for what our jail and county courthouse can accommodate. So that's also on the mind. And so just making sure all the dominoes fall. I am happy to pay taxes to make sure our facilities work and meet our community's needs. And let's see, I've got, Smart Transit rolled out their new website. We are testing. We are so close to being done or being able to launch the live tracking app for the buses for Smart Transit. We're getting there. It's having to find something that can handle the dispatch for what we do for Dial a Ride and what we what on-demand services we're able to provide, and making sure it's the same tool with what we can do for the live tracking of our free public bus, which is super cool. New website's up. Check it out. And
Where?
I think it's smarttransit.org.
Thanks.
Andy's going to be so sad that I am smarttransit.org. Yeah, we're going to go with that. And had a 1912 Center Youth Committee meeting. Thanks to Jenny for coordinating it. It's fun because my grandma is on that committee, independently appointed for me. But I get to hang out with my grandma when we do that meeting once a year. And the 2 fun community plugs. I wasn't able to make it to the pop-up, I don't know what else to call it, Ninth Circuit Court events that were hosted at the U of I Law School, which was really, really cool. I know Anthony Kuipers at the Daily News had some coverage, but it was really cool to see those notable cases being argued in our little little courthouse on campus. And the last thing I'll plug is a city co-hosted event on Wednesday for the Lionel Hampton Jazz Festival poster unveiling, I think here, or the 1912 Center. Am I making that up? Okay, Jenny says no. Here on Wednesday at 5:30, I think. So that's what I got. And I took my snow tires off, so this is because of me. Sorry, guys.
I like it. Okay. Drew.
Yeah, so went to one meeting, Parks and Rec, 2 pertinent items came out of that. So youth sports is coming up for the spring. So they need volunteers for coaches. Always need volunteers. So if you just should do it. That's all I'm gonna say. Just do it. Not stealing from Nike, but I am. But and then another topic that was brought up that I think is good to talk about, but just for a later date, something to think about. Talking about the aquatic center as they're getting ready for to roll some things out. They're talking about lifeguards, so they need lifeguard applications as well coming up. Really important. So if you want to be a lifeguard, do it. And then, or always wanted to be one. And then with that, also there was a discussion about sponsorship for maybe some items like umbrellas. In the past, City Council has not approved that because they didn't want certain things. But I think it's a topic maybe worth revisiting to help making sure that different businesses can donate to that with some stipulations on that. So I'd like to see that be brought up again. And I know people from that commission were interested in talking about that. So that's what I have for now. So that was technically 3 items, but I'm done. So,
I
Very
think
good.
we probably all received something in the mail about a real estate agency looking now to get sponsors to help provide scholarships for kids in the summer to the pool.
that's one portion of it, but this was also for they mentioned like the umbrella.
Right, and I got that one. I just thought that in addition to what they were talking about, it was just got it in the mail and thought, well, this is a good thing.
Okay, as for me, I was off to DC too, just got back yesterday, and so now it's 11:40 p.m. according to my body. So, still getting used to it. But yeah, it was a good meeting back in DC. The USDA apparently has several $100 million of unused funds for workforce housing. I don't know what it's doing with USDA instead of HUD, but there it is. Also, David Schott, the USDA has some big bucks for urban forestry programs and tree planting dollars. So log on to the USDA site and see what they've got to say. Speaking with our 2 senators and 2 representatives, spent a lot of time talking about funding for the airport, getting enough money to finish it off so we have a genuine, usable, nice regional airport facility. Also, the airport board and management are lobbying to get more intrastate aviation going here because places down south, Twin Falls, Pocatello, pretty much cut off from aviation now. And for sure, you can't get from here to there at all. So the airport is trying to push a little harder on spreading the good news and bringing aviation back to within the state so you can actually navigate our rather large and you can't get there from here kind of a state. So we did that. More locally, I tried to find the accessory dwelling unit number in here, but didn't find it because it's probably named something else. But anyway, the legislature, get out your confetti and stuff, is supposed to end on the 6th. So unless something else happens, we are free from the legislature as of the 6th. So let the celebrations begin. So anything from staff?
Only thing from staff this evening is just a reminder that Wednesday morning we'll have our county, university, school district, and city breakfast meeting at the Walls Complex.
Yes.
7 a.m.
7 a.m.
Bright and early. Okay, I think we're at the end of it. So we are adjourned.
Awesome.